we have a good one to start the week off with. This is called Mayday Coast, and I just found it, and I played it for a bit, and I absolutely love it. So, as per standard practice, we'll jump in, I'll show you some gameplay, then give a little bit of critique, and yeah, I hope this one does particularly well because it is a really clever idea. And it's fine as it is, but it could do with a bit of polish. There is a really interesting menu. So the gameplay idea is that you are this lighthouse operator with a big spotlight, and you're supposed to show passing ships where the big rocks are. Let's have a brief look at the credits. Very nice. Looks like a pretty big team. There's some assets and so on. I have turned the music off for reasons, but there is quite nice, peaceful little music that plays while it goes on. Options menu is really good. Has all the things. I've turned the music off. This controls the full screen state rather than the normal little button in itch.io. It's an itch.io browser game. And the how to play really just gives you the very basics. The light follows the mouse around, illuminate rocks to alert ships to their presence. There's a heli rescue that automatically fires. You can fire off a foghorn that slows ships down for a bit, and you can fire off a flare to sort of light up a rock that so you can light two rocks basically, one with your spotlight and one with the flare. I assume that's how it works, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, so let's jump in and show some basic gameplay. So this is us in the middle. Here comes a ship. There are some rocks that we need to illuminate, and the ship trundles along, and since we've illuminated the rocks, hopefully it doesn't hit the rock. Yeah, so this is our heli that rescues people if the ship crashes. We have our lives, the night one, and the number of boats, I assume that is. Yeah, if we click on something, the flare lights it up, and as you can see, the flare has a cooldown. I don't think we have a limited number of flares. I think we have as many as we need. The flare lasts for roughly about the cooldown length. And there's sort of three sets of rocks here. Unfortunately, the rocks do move during the night. Now, this moon, I think, travels across in front of us, and that sort of defines the length of the night. I think that's our night length mechanism there. So the night ended, and we get some upgrades. We have an arbitrary bit of news that just changes. I don't think it has anything to do with our actual day's events. And we have one of two upgrades to purchase. We can get assume faster flare cooldown. I'm not sure what the helicopter recovery does. I think just fetches sailors and hopefully none of them die. Anyway, so flares cooldown, we'll select that because I think the flares are helpful. Here is a very large ship coming in, steaming in at speed. We could tell him to slow down a bit, but I think we're doing fine. He's missing the shore there. I don't know if the shore counts as rocks or if they miss it automatically. The ships have gotten a little close. The rocks do move around, which is a little strange, but we'll talk about that. There's quite sort of spooky, slow music playing in the background that I have turned off. It does add a certain something to it. Halfway through the night, we've only had the one ship. I did play until about nights, I want to say 4 or 5, and the ships were increasing pretty seriously by that time. I was getting sort of 2 at the same time, although if I had sort of not at exactly the same time, there was still a ship on the screen when the other ship came in, and yeah, it was getting pretty intense, but still quite easily playable, so it wasn't that hard. Ooh, light size, that's nice. I haven't seen that one before. Oh, nice big light. I like it. Where are they coming in? They're coming in there. See that? See that? See, that's the shore. I flared that one. See that one there? I haven't flared that one because I missed it. But we've managed that. This is quite a nasty little batch of rocks over here. Where's the next lad coming in from? I like this bigger light. That's very nice to use. Where are you coming from there? Alright, mate. Well, this is an island. Oh, you're going for that one. Great. See, there's rocks here. Can you see them? You're going to miss them. Good. Are you going to swing around them, or are you going out that way? Okay. Good. Well done. And is that it for the evening? Seems like, oh, there's one coming at the top there, but that's fine. You can see the rocks there and there. You're not going to be, I think, by these rocks by the time the night ends. Alright. Interesting upgrades. We can make the light even bigger. We can, I assume, move the spotlight a bit quicker. And that's the gameplay. I'm going to leave it there, because I think this is a good game to come and play. I do recommend you come and give it a go. The link is in the description. If you are here just to see the gameplay, then thank you for watching. Please like if you like the video. Please subscribe if you want to see more itch.io games reviewed. And don't forget to leave comments, because comments are good for everyone and it helps us talk to people outside of our own tight little circles. And it trains the YouTube algorithm both for you and for me. So, engage with the video, leave those comments. Cool. So that is the gameplay portion. Let us talk about the critiques. And I have, as usual, performed an absolute lack of professionalism by forgetting to mute my phone. Right, that was a terrible distraction. My apologies. Okay, cool. First of all, the UI. The UI is quite nice. I think it could do with a little more polish here and there. The start menu is absolutely fantastic. The options menu is fine. Everything needed there. I like that a lot. The thing's nice. I think actually in the game, if we have a look in here, I think this could do with a lot more polish. I mean, I can read it. I can see what it's doing. But it needs a box. It needs to be neatened up. It's not hugely important information that I've seen, so it could be sort of shrunk a little bit, popped into a box of these in the corner somewhere, given a little bit of sort of metal trim to look like, lighthouse controls. That's nice. You've got your standard options menu over here. Just illuminate these, just because this guy's coming in fast. I really like how big this the spotlight is now. This is the size that is like it. I would say it should be, but it's a comfortable size to play with. You came very close to those rocks there, mate. Anyway, so yeah, the UI. I mean, this is too big. Why is it so big for these small buttons and things like that? The UI obviously needs a bit of cleanup, but I think the content that it has, the design that it has, is fantastic. And I love the fact that everything's accessible both from the front menu and from during gameplay. I mean, it's great. The UI construction is really good. Just needs a little bit of aesthetic visual polish. The sounds are fine. You have boat engines, you have the gentle slosh of the wind and the waves, and so on. No real complaints or notes for the sounds. I even like the music. The art is again fine. Like I said, the UI needs a little bit of polishing, but I think the boat's really cute. The rock design, maybe some work could be done there. I mean, you can get really complicated there and have sort of big rock shapes and different things and that, but I mean, that's going to add complexity to the game. In terms of gameplay, I think the art is absolutely fantastic. Just the UI polish needs a bit of work, but it's good. So the game feeling and immersion. I'm going to kind of blend these together to kind of the gameplay immersion, I guess, and the sort of the game story immersion elements. These are the real two critiques that I have that I think raises an interesting question. In terms of the game mechanics, I think everything is fine. I see the responsiveness. I mean, the spotlight movement is deliberately slowed a bit. I saw there was an upgrade to quicken it up. Yeah, so I mean, in terms of managing the gameplay, that's fine. Um, the two critiques I have there, the first is kind of interaction with the game, because I don't know if the ships have seen the rocks that are illuminating. I don't know if it's worked, if I'm doing it right. And I feel from a gameplay perspective, it would be nice to kind of get that feedback. Um, and again, like the rocks move around every night. The rocks are in a different place, and again, that's not very real. So I would like, again, the gameplay mechanic. It's obviously that's important because it can use the rocks moving around to make things more difficult, more interesting, so the gameplay isn't static. And the question that I'm thinking this raises is the fundamental question of how realistic do you make a game? Because in real life, um, you can communicate with the ships. If you're a lighthouse operator, there are sort of charts of rocks and things like that. You can highlight rocks that maybe were discovered to not be on the charts, or as sort of sea levels change and things like that. Those are the only things that really sort of move and maneuver around, and they're generally well known and they're generally well mapped, and the real purpose of a lighthouse is just to tell the ships, okay, here is this thing, and in reference to this thing, you can then reference all of the things on your charts to show you how to move around. The lighthouse isn't there to illuminate problems in the sea. It's there to show a static point in the world that ships then reference themselves from. That's why it has a light that just spins around rather than points at rocks, and the light sort of spins in a predictive pattern, and you can actually see which lighthouse it is by the pattern of the light that spins around. So if there's like two bright pulses, this is this lighthouse, and you are here along the coast, because the ship has charts of where the lighthouses are and things like it. I'm not sure how relevant that is these days with GPS and things, but they still operate presumably as sort of close range accuracy and backups and those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, that's really what a lighthouse is. I don't know that if in some places in the world you do actually have a lighthouse that illuminates rocks at night and things like shows them off. I think it would be more likely that the sort of the local shipping authorities would say, just don't sail through this bit of water because there's a bunch of dangerous rocks there. Ensure that you keep X amount of distance from the lighthouse at all times, that kind of thing. Still, so again, you have this disconnect between gameplay and realism, and that's the real question here: is how real do you make your game? I mean, looking at this game as the way it is now, I can think of ways to make it more real. And that would sort of change the gameplay and things like that, which is not really what the game maker is trying to do here. It's not really what he's thinking of. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. You could possibly even change the context of the game. Instead of ships sailing in the sea, you could have this be a space station with rocks from a recent accident floating around, and you're trying to guide vessels into the station's docking bay and help the vessels leave. I think that would be quite cool, sort of a sci-fi themed equivalent of this. I would play the hell out of that. But stepping away from the question of realism, is this good gameplay? And yes, I think this is very good gameplay, and the realism can take a bit of a gap there, but you can at least, in terms of game design, allude to it a bit more, have the rocks look a bit more variable in terms of the rock designs and patterns and things like that. Um, just and have the ships react to being shown rocks. It would be nice if there's like I don't know how you would do it, but show some rocks and a little marker above the ships appears to show that they have acknowledged a particular rock, or maybe draw a thin little sort of green line to say that the ship is like, yes, the ship is aware of that rock, and if you move the light, the line slowly fades and flickers as the ship then forgets where the rock is, or something like that. So yeah, the gameplay there is, I think, and the critique there is, I think, at the gameplay level, this needs a bit more polish in terms of how the game interacts with the player, how it displays the threats, and how it tells the player that the ships have acknowledged a particular threat. I think that's a good focal point for some polish there. And obviously, my earlier critique is the UI needs a fair bit more polishing. It's functional now. Don't change or lose any info. Just tighten it up a bit, make it a bit more aesthetic. And the final critique, the final one, is the game's storyline. Like as it is, as the game stands, the storyline is fantastic. You're this spotlight tower captain. You're showing ships where the things are. You have a foghorn to slow them down. You have a flare to add a sort of a second type of warning. I mean, that's fantastic. That's great. I really like that. As a game, it's a really, really good game. But there is so much more that can be done. Why am I this relatively novice captain of this tower? Where are we in the world? You could throw in some kind of storyline reason for the reasons rocks move around. And obviously the strong temptation here, which a lot of these games go towards, which I personally love, except that the games tend to not do it very well. But I love the idea of a story progression where there is some sort of, and I'm going to say it, Cthulhu-esque element. The thing that is very compelling about the sea at night is that it's actually quite scary. It's quite a horror environment. It's this dark, imperceptible bit of water. We know there's sharks and giant squid and things in there. We know there are monsters in the ocean, and the stories around it are like make bigger monsters in the ocean. We that's why we are so drawn to the idea of this sort of Cthulhu-esque cosmic horror creatures that live deep down in the unexplored depths that can come out and do possibly powerful things, and that it's such a viscerally compelling type genre of horror that it's difficult to make a game like this, I think, and stay away from it. And is there a reason for that? It's this game is already, technically speaking, a horror game, and that it's the risk of ships hitting rocks and capsizing and the sailors dying. I mean, it's a pretty, already, I suppose it is kind of a dark gameplay concept in itself, but so there's no real reason to steer too far away from the idea of monsters that come out of the water. And honestly, that if this was my game, if this was my idea, that's where I would kind of move the storyline to. I would start with a static pattern of rocks. So here are the rocks around this island. They don't move, they don't change. You draw them around, and they would be there. And the sort of the first night or two, you just help the ships dodge the rocks, and then things like tentacles and stuff come out of the ocean, and you have to highlight those so that the ships don't sail into those as well as the rocks. And that's what the moving element is, and you get more and more of them. And possibly there's an in-between nights gameplay thing where you figure out how to chase off the Cthulhu-esque monsters that are trying to attack this part of the bay or ocean or whatever. I mean, that would be where I would love to see this game go, but that's just my idea. Obviously, I'm not the game developer. I don't care about what the game, the developer hopefully doesn't care what I personally want about it. Everybody wants something different, but that's where I could sort of see the game going as as a future version of it. And that's just my rather arrogantly stated opinion, but this is my video, so nah. Anyway, so those are the critiques I have for it. That's the gameplay I've shown. Please come and watch it. Link is in the watch it. Please come and play the game. The link is in the description. Give the developer some love, because it's difficult pushing these games out there and having nitwits like me come along and rant about them. So yeah, make this valuable by giving the developer some support. If we escape out, this is made for the Redot Spring Game Jam, which I think is being rated at the moment. And there's not a huge amount more information, just some nice screenshots. Yeah, you can see the ships there and the gloom and things. Yeah, that's it. The author is Cyber Ninja 42. So really good job, Cyber Ninja 42. It's a good game you've produced in between all your cyber ninjaing. Thank you for making it, and I hope this video gives it the support it needs. And thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.